Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and this is going to be my quick summary of each of these tier 10 light tanks. Now, these are coming in 9.18, and honestly I think they're pretty fucking good in general. There's one which I think is a bit weaker than the rest of them, but it may surprise you which one I think is a bit weaker, but you can fix its main weakness, in my opinion, with one of the cruise skills. So that might give you a clue as to which one it is, but first off, let's start off with the WZ132. Now, the WZ132 is probably best summed up as the E50M of the Tier 10 light tanks. It has, I believe, it has the most overall armor, if that makes sense. The T100 has the most frontal armor, but that means nothing on this tank. It has extreme angling, so you are going to get the occasional bounce, but not too often. Um, Whereas the WZ132 has a 200mm frontal turret, and that turret is actually really good. It's actually better than the E50Ms. So it's like a reverse E50M. Instead of having a really strong hull, it has a really strong turret. So it's actually a really solid tank to drive, and its gun feels kind of like the E50Ms, except it doesn't have the accuracy of the E50M. But the way I drive this thing, I drive it pretty close range, but close to medium range is typically the range where I would drive it. And it is very good at that range. It is so goddamn devastating. Point 0.4 accuracy with this kind of crew. I didn't put Brothers in Arms in any of the crews to try and keep it fair. I tried to keep the crew skills very similar as well. Although there was one I had to switch, but I'll get that in a minute. Um, so overall, this thing here is a very good light tank. It is really strong. I don't know if these little metal things around the turret actually count as armor in any sort of way, but they might. So I need to check that there at some point. I don't know. Um, so I'll add that on to the end of the video if I remember to. So overall, this thing is a very good tank. Its gun is devastating. I think it has the highest pen of all tier 10 light tanks. Its reload's a bit long, a bit on the long side, but overall, this thing is so goddamn good in every other respect. You don't expect it to have hull armor. It's a light tank, so you don't really expect hull armor. But the turret armor is so goddamn good. Um, I was fighting an E50M in this. He was firing full heat rounds, and that's what makes me think that these might be part of the armor model. He was firing full heat rounds versus me, and a couple of APCR rounds as well, and I didn't get pinned once. Meanwhile, I pinned him every single shot. This thing here is devastating if you can get it in the right position. So I'm basically thinking of this as like a Centurion, a T-54 with a Centurion gun, but with more speed. So that's basically how I'm thinking of this thing. It's a very strong machine. Then we come to the Sheridan. Sheridan, unsurprisingly, probably the most fun you can have in tier 10 games. Um, this thing is ridiculous. The 152mm gun on this thing, I only had to drive it twice, and yeah, it's what you would imagine from a T49, a tier higher. It's got faster reload, it's got faster aiming time, its accuracy is better. It's extremely powerful. It really is extremely powerful. Um, I know parts of this box at the bottom are spaced armor, but I don't think the side armor is. But I think like the rear armor. Oh, what the hell happened there? How do we get that to go away? The rear armor I think has some spaced armor, and this here I believe might be some spaced armor. But yeah, I'll add an addition onto the end of the video covering WZ and the 551 in terms of the armor models. Just to see what they are, and I'll throw the T100 in there as well, just to see what its overall armor looks like. I'll go into tank inspector or tanks GG for that. So yeah, this thing here very strong. 10 degrees of gun depression everywhere but the back, I believe, and its maneuverability is unbelievable. It really is like unbelievable in terms of mobility and maneuverability. Its camo is not the greatest. Like I think it might be the weakest in terms of camo. Yeah, it's definitely the weakest in terms of camo. But that's to be expected. I mean, it's by far the biggest of them all in terms of height. Although, funnily enough, the Panzerwagen for some reason is 25 tons. I cannot work out where the hell that 25 tons come from. I mean, look at the size of the Sheridan. The Sheridan's massive. It weighs 16 tons. It weighs less than 16 tons. This thing's also massive, and it weighs 25 tons. Germany, how you make your tank so heavy? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And it's not as if it has much more armor than the Sheridan. I mean, it has 30, 38, 20, 20, 20, 14, 31, 12, 38, 15, 15. The differences there are pretty much non-existent. So why is it so heavy? I really don't have an answer for that. I really don't. And it's also kind of ironic considering some of the other details of that vehicle, but I'll get to that in a minute. Um, yeah, the traverse speed, the top speed, it feels really solid in terms of maneuverability and mobility. The gun's fun to use. It definitely feels more accurate than the current T49 at Tier 8. And overall, I think it's going to be a really solid vehicle to drive. I didn't drive it much with the 105, but personally, I'm probably never going to use the 105. The 105, I think, is the best overall 105 on Tier 10 light tanks. So if you want to, you can use that there. But personally, I think trying to remain unexposed for the longest period of time possible is probably the best way to play this thing because it is a pretty big target. I mean, look at the thing; it's massive. Um, so you probably will want to try and remain unseen for the most part and just peekaboo. Um, Trying to sit there and aim or poking out every what is it, 7 or 8 seconds. Let me just look. Every 7.5 seconds to take a shot is going to get you killed relatively quickly in something this size. So yeah, I would probably recommend the 152, but that's just me personally. I'm actually just going to switch this here just to automatic fire extinguisher to see the difference in the reload. Oh yeah, 17.2 seconds. This thing basically reloads at about the same rate as an E100. So that's pretty good actually, considering the standard T49 Tier 8 right now. It has like an 18-second reload or something like that there, with pretty much every career skill you can give it, or with pretty much everything you can give it to lower the reload. So yeah, I like this thing a lot, as you can probably guess. The T100, more of the same. It is also incredibly good at having a target that is this small, this fast, is unbelievable. This thing here is absolutely mental in terms of speed. Its spotting is great. Its armor, actually, I mentioned earlier the armor doesn't really work. The armor being so extremely angled and the low profile nature of the turret. I mean, that turret is so goddamn small. Like, I can't think of another turret in the game that's as low profile as that. Like, that's unreal. Um, Length of the vehicle can get you killed sometimes because it is pretty long considering how narrow and how tall it is. It is a very long vehicle, but let's just compare it to the Sheridan and see how long. Yeah, the Sheridan's longer, but not by much. So yeah, like it. So if you have your side showing to people, you're more likely to get hit. It's you more or less just want to be moving directly towards your enemy or moving directly away from your enemy. You don't want to be sitting sideways on or 45 degrees on at any point if you can possibly avoid it. You want to try and give them the narrowest silhouette possible. And yeah, if you can find a position where you can use this thing hold down, you're pretty much unhittable. Like that's how insanely good this thing is in terms of its profile. It's a very very strong machine, and honestly, I'm kind of wondering. It's honestly making me debate between the WZ132, which I'm probably not going to get first. It's sad, but I'm not going to get this thing first. But it's not for the reason you may think. It's because I have to go through a tier 9 completely. I have to unlock a tier 9. I have to go through that tier 9 completely, and then I have to go to this thing. Otherwise, this thing would probably be the first one to get because it's like an E50M. So, yeah. XM551, it's fun. This thing here and the T100, I'm honestly wondering which one to get first. And honestly, right now I'm leaning towards the T100 because the T100 is hilarious. XM551 is also hilarious. I want both of them equally, but the T100 I feel like it's a bit more unique. Because look how small it is, it's unreal. Then we come on to the 13105. 13105 is getting a lot of shit. It has a 3-shot autoloader, 390 alpha per shot, and 234 pen. Overall, it's pretty good in terms of just raw stats. It's got a really good part of weight ratio of where is it, 37, 600 horsepower engine in a 16-ton tank, so it's pretty damn potent in terms of the part of weight ratio in general. Its stealth, I believe, is either the best or second best. I can't remember. I believe it's probably second best. Yeah, second best after the T100. So yeah, it's getting a lot of shit because it only has 3 shots in the mag. But honestly, I see that as more of an advantage than a disadvantage because it's 2.73 seconds between each shot. So probably the main change I would make to this thing if I was balancing it would be I would make it like 2.3 seconds between each shot and would leave it with a 3 shot mag and leave the reload overall clip reload the same. The reason for that is doing 1,170 damage inside of five and a half seconds roughly is fucking devastating. Because the first shot's free. It doesn't have any kind of like magazine load time, and then the second shot has the magazine load time, and the third shot has the magazine load time. And then you're reloading the gun completely. So 5.5 seconds to reload to unload 1,170 damage into a target is pretty devastating. It's getting a lot of shit, but that gun, that kind of firepower is pretty devastating whenever you're coming up against it and you're not expecting it. Like I was dealing with a Centurion XNX and I fucking destroyed him. Um, he was not expecting me to just kind of pop out and just bang, 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 and just annihilate him. It destroyed his HP pool. So this thing here, it's getting a lot of shit, but I feel like it has some serious potential. The only thing I would probably change would be I would make this about 2.5 seconds or 2.3 seconds, something like that. There, just try and make it a bit more of a peekaboo machine, if that makes sense. So you can like pop out to a corner, fire off a couple of shots, and then run. I feel like that's the kind of playstyle that this thing will have to adapt because it's not exactly the most flexible vehicle as far as I remember. It's got like 6 degrees of gun depression. Yeah, it's actually 8 degrees of gun depression. How the hell did that happen? Wow, it's actually way more than I thought it was. So that's actually better than I thought it was. Um, but yeah, it's still not going to be the most flexible vehicle ever because it doesn't have a front mounted turret. So that means you're going to have to reverse around corners if you want to fire off shots and then run. So yeah, it's going to be a little awkward in some cases, but I feel like the reduction in the in-clip reload would probably be the best option for this thing, just to make it a bit more devastating in a shorter period of time. But yeah, other than that, pretty solid machine in my opinion. Otherwise, the only other buff I can really think of giving it would be an extra 50 HP. I feel like all the rest of the stats are pretty well balanced. So yeah, I'm not in the party of giving it an extra shot in the mag. I feel like it would be too similar to the bat shot then. I feel like the 3 shot mag makes it a bit more unique. And I think the way this thing works, I think it kind of suits it. People are shitting on it because of the magazine size and the reloads, but I feel like it has a lot of potential if they just buff the in-clip magazine reload. That would probably be the only thing I would change, other than way more HP. But yeah. And now we come on to the one which I am the most unsure about. First off, I'm just going to quickly just look through all these vehicles. This thing here carries 40 rounds of ammunition. This thing here carries 30 rounds of ammunition, but this is 152mm rounds. So let's look at the 105. It carries 42 rounds of ammunition. This thing here carries 42 rounds of ammunition. This thing here carries 33. You can see where this is going, can't you? 30. That's it. 30. I'm sorry, but that's way too low of amount of ammo to have in a tier 10 light tank. 30 rounds of ammo, like, look, to put this in perspective, things like the IS-7 and IS-4, it's 100% possible to run out of ammo in those things, and those do either an extra 50 damage a shot or an extra 100 damage a shot. It's 100% possible to run out of ammo in those vehicles. This thing has a significantly faster reload than both of those machines. It does less alpha than those machines per shot, and honestly, this thing is built more to be a long-range sniper than a close-range brawler. This thing does not do well at close-range brawling. I tried it, and this is the one I was talking about in terms of, like, it needs a specific crew skill to make it work in terms of any kind of close-range combat. It does not work otherwise, and that is clutch breaking. It doesn't look like it from the stats. You wouldn't think it would need clutch breaking, but if you take off clutch breaking, this thing here feels like it doesn't turn if you're going anywhere near your top speed. It just feels like it doesn't turn. And considering it has no armor, it's pretty damn big overall. and the gun has a significant weak point in terms of the amount of ammo it carries. This thing, I think it has too many weaknesses to be really, really seriously competitive. I really do. I think the ammo capacity just kind of kills it. If this thing had like 40 or 50 rounds, I feel like this thing here would actually be pretty decent. I wouldn't really have that many complaints about it because it's built to be a long range sniper, but because it's built to be a long range sniper and has the lowest ammo capacity, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, hell, the T100 it wouldn't be as big of an issue to have 30 rounds of ammo because you're fighting at close range. Same with the WZ-132. And I'm not, no, by the way, I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying nerf these vehicles. These vehicles are all fine as far as I'm aware. I see no real issues with them. But the Panzerwagen, it has way too low of an ammo count for what it is. Sure, it has the most health, I believe, joined with the Sheridan. Yeah, I believe so. Um, but it's big. It's got no armor. It gets absolutely shredded by the 152 of the Sheridan, and it doesn't feel like it turns very well at top speed. It really doesn't. Meanwhile, things like the T100, the Sheridan, and the 132 and the 13105 all feel like they respond reasonably well at top speed. This thing here just doesn't. It just doesn't feel very good in terms of the actually being able to turn when you're moving at high speed. It's kind of tragic actually because this was probably the one I was looking forward to the most. So like the fact that like here's the thing. Here's the main reason why the ammo capacity is an issue. It has 0.35 accuracy, but that's not great. That really isn't great. Like it's just 0.36 here, but because of crew skills and stuff, it's 0.35 here. It just doesn't feel that great. It really doesn't. I don't really have anything else to say about that other than that. Um, 0.36 isn't actually that good of an accuracy rating. That's roughly around the area of things like T10. As far as I remember, like I think it's 0.38. Actually, what's the low PTI? I believe it gets 0.3. 0.32. Let's see the Russian. Where's the Russian? T10, there you are. See, 0.38, and I believe if you have the top turret, actually wait, hang on, just didn't preview. I believe if you have the top turret, it goes down like 0.37 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe something like that. 0.36. So this thing has the same accuracy rating as the T10. And the D10 doesn't exactly have the most reliable gun. The gun's alright, but this thing fights at closer range than the light tank will. So that accuracy rating really doesn't work for the type of vehicle that it is. If the Panzerwagen had like a 0.3 accuracy rating, I feel like it would probably be a bit more usable. But the two things I would say is either give it an extra 10 rounds of ammo and increase the dispersion to, or well, decrease the dispersion to about 0.32 or 3, and I feel like it would probably be competitive, but right now I don't think it's going to be a very good machine, which is honestly kind of disappointing because I was really looking forward to this thing, and I'm kind of a little annoyed by the way it turned out, in my opinion. I think this thing is probably the weakest of them all. The MS-13105 has a high damage potential. The 132 is just versatile as fuck. The 551 is hilarious and has two good gun options depending on the kind of player you are. And the T100 is just amazing. So the Panzerwagen just kind of underwhelming when you're comparing it to the others. I mean, the size combined with the lack of any armor whatsoever, and combined with the kind of crappy traverse speed when you're moving at top speed, combined with the ammo capacity limitation with the kind of mediocre accuracy rating, it doesn't make for the greatest machine ever, in my opinion. I feel like this thing out of all of them is probably the weakest. It's kind of disappointing, as I said, but yeah. If I was to give like a top three, I would say WZ-132, 551, and T100 are all on the same level. 13105, the only reason why I'm not rating it at the same level is because, well, it has a lot of damage potential, but I also feel like it could use some wee buffs. It's actually kind of funny. It actually lined them up in the way I would probably line them up. These are the first tier. These are the second tier. Although I'd probably have a third tier for the Panzerwagen on its own. The 13105s are alright for the most part, but the Panzerwagen, it needs some buffs. In my opinion, it really does. But yeah, and the thing is, it's not even the fastest in terms of part of weight ratio either. It has top speed, but it doesn't even have the best part of weight ratio. I mean, this thing here destroys it. But yeah, the ones I'm looking forward to the most are probably the Sheridan T100 and the 132. Ramtal, bit of a disappointment, and 13105. I'm going to get it. It's probably going to be fun, but probably won't enjoy it as much as the other three. So yeah, I believe that pretty much sums up my thoughts on these vehicles after playing them on the test server. So yeah, and the Sheridan with the 105, or not the 105, the 152 is as good as you'd imagine. It's amazing. I love this thing. So yeah, I believe that's about everything I really need to say on these vehicles right now. I'll update this video if some changes come out for the vehicles, but yeah. Um, Actually, hang on. I'm just gonna take a quick look at the RE251 just before I end here. Just what's the ammo capacity on the RE251? Because I had to have buffed that one at least because that thing always had a really lackluster ammo capacity. I hope that's not like a German trait. That would suck. 41 rounds for 240 alpha. I'm torn. I'm not sure if that's good or not. Where is the T54 lightweight? I believe this thing probably has a lesser ammo capacity than the RU. Okay, yeah, 41's pretty decent if the T54 lightweight has pretty similar ammo capacity. So it doesn't seem to be a German trait to have a crappy ammo capacity. So I don't know why they decided just to give it a crappy ammo capacity. It seemed kind of shitty to me, in my opinion. This thing here carries 50 rounds. Why the hell does this thing carry more ammo than the Tier 9? That's bizarre. I don't even know. Both of them have the same alpha, but that one does more damage. Or but the HWK carries more ammo. That's bizarre. Let's see. What's the LTGB have? I'm just gonna quickly just take a wee look. It carries 48 rounds. Okay, so that's bizarre that the German just kind of gets fucked by the ammo capacity. Because I keep talking about the ammo capacity, but it is entirely doable to run out of ammo in this thing. If you get a position where you can just fire off 5 or 6 shots and then move, fire off another five or six shots, it's not going to be an issue in most games because most games are relatively short. But that one game that could be epic, but is ruined by ammo capacity, will frustrate the shit out of everybody who owns this thing. I'm telling you right now, I feel like that's an issue that this vehicle has. I don't think it's a good thing to do for this machine when you release it. I don't feel like people are going to go for this thing in its current form. It's the best sniper of the tier 10 light tanks, but even though it's the best sniper of the tier 10 light tanks, it doesn't have the greatest accuracy. Like I mean, things like the grill and the Swedish TDs have like ridiculous precision. So yeah, I think that sums up all my thoughts on these vehicles. Let me know what you think of them. Do you think I'm being too harsh on the Panzerwagen, or do you think or do you kind of agree with me for the most part, or do you have like different feelings on different vehicles? So yeah, I believe that's about everything I have to say. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Oh, nearly forgot to add this one at the end. Yeah, turns out those little things added onto the side of the turret on the WZ, they do count as spaced armor, which is pretty cool actually, because that means that that's going to be really annoying for people who just spam full heat, and that's maybe why this thing has so much success bouncing stuff on the test server. It may not be as strong as that in the live server, but on the test server it works really, really nicely. So I can see that possibly translating to the live server. I mean, look at the kind of armor values you're getting off this. It's mental. So yeah, the thoughts I had on WZ still pretty much stand. Really, really solid tank, pretty damn solid turret, and yeah, just overall really, really solid tank. The only thing that's a bit annoying about it is the reload phase is a little long, but I can deal with that for how good the rest of the tank is. No, the Sheridan. The Sheridan is actually covered in a lot more spaced armor than I thought it was. I thought this like there's like a box here, like this entire area here was just gonna be spaced armor, and then the rest of it was just gonna be normal armor. But this thing's actually got a lot of spaced armor on it. It's only 3 millimeters thick, so not much armor, but having some spaced armor is better than none because chances are that will detonate HE rounds, and means you will probably take a little less damage from them. And this thing will probably be like the ultimate counter to itself, if that makes sense. It will actually be able to fight other Sheridans without actually dying in one hit from the HE rounds. Well, unless you hit the lower plate. The lower plate's pretty bad. But yeah, actually covering a lot more space armor than I realized, which is pretty cool actually. So that means this thing might be pretty decent at taking hits and just not taking damage, if that makes sense. So if you like angle the vehicle around a corner, kind of like this, I would assume. Like you could like beat somebody shooting this right here, and there's no armor behind that there. I think so. That would mean that they wouldn't actually be able to they wouldn't actually be able to do any damage because there's no armor behind it. So yeah, that's kind of cool actually. So intrigued to see how that works on the live server. And then we'll come on to the T100 LT. Pretty much exactly as expected. 100mm front plate, and the rest of it's 40, and then a decently strong turret. Did bounce a couple of shots up the turret on when I was driving it, but not too many. But this thing mainly survives based off avoiding shots, and well, it's not exactly difficult in something this low profile and this slim. So yeah, uh, just try to avoid driving side on to things because that's your largest profile by far. I mean, look at that, it's massive. So yeah, overall, pretty solid machine. The armor on the upper front plate can actually bounce some shots and will actually surprise you from time to time, but don't rely on it. That's all I can really say. So, yeah. I believe that sums up everything that I meant to go over on this video. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.